Hey guys, Matt Bell with another Improv for Violinist episode. Last week we talked about how to get a little more shred in your solos. This week, and probably for the next couple weeks, we're going to talk about long notes. 1 week of shred, 3 or 4 weeks of long notes. The ratio should tell you something about how important those two techniques are. But to start with a joke. How does a lead singer change a light bulb? He just stands there and waits for the world to revolve around him. That's how we're going to roll this week. We're going to stand there and let the world revolve around us, or at least change around us. The last few weeks we've been given examples of playing different scales over a given chord. But the truth is, in most cases, we're not playing over one chord. Chords change, right? And we spend a lot of our time working our way from one chord to the next. But what if we didn't? What if we just sat on one note and let the chords change underneath us? The reason we use numbers when we're talking about playing over chords is that each of the 12 tones has a different feel when you play it over a given chord, right? So what emotion does a B natural have? Well, it depends on what chord you're playing it over. If I'm playing a B natural over a B major chord, it's about as stable as it gets. If I'm playing a B natural over a B flat major chord, it's about as dissonant as it gets. So in the first case, it's a 1, pretty stable. Second case, it's a flat 9, which is really dissonant. It's the same note, different flavors. See where I'm getting at here? So here's an example. A really common change in pop music is a 1-4-1 change. So I'm going to roll some backing tracks here, and then I'm going to choose as my long note the 5 of the 1 chord. We're going to be in G, so I'm going to pick a D. All right, over the first chord, it's a 5. It's the second most stable note that we could pick. When we go to the 4 chord, the C, it becomes the 9. I'll be playing a D over a C major chord. Not the most dissonant choice possible, but it gives us significantly more tension than over the first chord. And then we go back to the 1, it releases that tension. Now, tension or release are a really big component of any good solo. We'll start with some stability, then we'll create some tension or some dissonance, and then we'll release that tension, all without changing notes. Now, the audience can hear that I haven't changed any notes, but they can certainly feel that something has changed, okay? So let's roll that backing track here. Okay, we got a G going here. Now I'm sitting on a D note, and we go to the 4th. You hear the tension. Go back to the 1 again, and it releases. Maybe we'll go to the 5. To the 4, back to the 1. Okay, so you could hear that the feel was changing every time the chord would change underneath me, even though my note didn't change at all. Okay, so that's one of the things that you can do on long notes. You can hold them out across chord changes. Wouldn't necessarily hold it across the whole 12-bar blues, right? But you can hear that holding a long note across a change can be a really useful technique for you. Okay. Next week, we're going to talk about some strategies for making that note more interesting and more expressive, okay? So your homework for this week is to experiment with holding out different notes across different changes. I did the 5 of the 1 chord. It's a really easy one to pick. But pick some different notes, listen to some different changes, learn what works and what doesn't work. Listen for tension or release, stability and dissonance, okay? We'll see you next week.